Left of the box. It's not just me feeling it at the grocery store, apparently. It's also 32% of Canadians. Well, they're blaming the high food prices on grocery stores. Now, that might seem low, but remember it says that's more than any other reason. So that's actually quite significant, but let's get into this. I haven't actually watched this little video yet.
Expensive.
Grocery shoppers like Kelsey Holland in Windsor are fed up with high food prices each trip to the grocery store.
It's getting ridiculous to even just be able to live.
Holland says the price of everything keeps climbing, making it difficult to feed the family.
They're just crazy. Like, to be able to afford food plus rent as a mother, it's ridiculous.
They're crazy.
It's everyone. Okay. I'm feeling it, and I'm not a mother. Like, it's, I understand there's extra strain when you have dependents that you need to look after. It's everyone. Like, the last time I went and looked up getting myself butter, it was like almost $10. Like, what are they doing? This is just pure unadulterated greed from the grocery stores.
Going up every week. A lot of stuff I used to buy, I just don't buy anymore.
A post on Reddit is calling for a month-long boycott of all Loblaws stores in May, saying Canadians are facing a cost of living crisis and food banks across the country are seeing a drastic increase in demand.
Again, my biggest issue with boycotts is not everyone has the luxury of choosing which grocery store they go to. It's what's ever convenient and accessible to them. Also, a lot of people don't understand how many grocery stores are owned by the Westons, Galen Weston and his family. So if you're going to call for a boycott or suggest that people do that, instead of listing all the grocery stores you can't go to, list the grocery stores you can go to, just to make it a little bit easier for people so that they can have a handy list for them to see if there's anything near them that they can switch to.
So I think the grocers are making enough money. They need to put a lid on that.
Some say the boycott may last longer until prices come down.
You know, we won't know until we know. So it's worth a try.
I think Canadians have every right to be upset.
However, a Canadian food expert believes a boycott won't work and could actually backfire in the process.
Sometimes boycotts do work, but in this case, it can't. In fact, it could backfire against the people, the very people who are trying to make this boycott successful.
Oh, this guy here, I believe he goes by the food professor on Twitter. I wouldn't take anything he says all that, oh, what's the word? He's in the pockets at the grocery stores. Like he is. He's bought and paid for and will always side with them. So of course he's going to say, I don't think a boycott would work because he realizes it might hurt. And so, yeah, anything the food professor has to say, just don't. He's not being sincere.
You would basically force other grocers to raise prices. If you eliminate one option off the market, that's trouble for everyone.
The director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University, Sylvain Charlebois, says concerns should be made to the Canadian Competition Bureau, noting this is the 9th or 10th boycott call for Loblaws in the last 4 years.
So this is not new. This one in particular is making a lot more noises, but at the end of the day, people will go back to the grocery store and they'll see that things are not as difficult as they were just 12 months ago.
CTV
They're getting more difficult.
News has reached out to Loblaws and organizers of the upcoming boycott, but have not heard back by deadline.
Well, I think it's awful. I think the government has to do something about it.
Again, my biggest thing about boycott of grocery stores is that a lot of people don't have choice. They have to go wherever is convenient to them. And unfortunately, sometimes that means they can't participate in a boycott. And when it comes to something as vital as food, it becomes extremely difficult. We're not talking about like a brand of shoes or something, or, you know, something you can boycott that you could potentially go without for a bit. You need to get your groceries, and if the only grocery store accessible to you happens to be a Loblaws brand, then realistically speaking, you can't boycott that. And I think a lot of people calling for the boycott don't understand that. If they want a boycott to be successful, then you have to plan and account for those people. You have to put together food drives for each other to help people not go into the grocery store, for people who are living with dire poverty that can't just go anywhere. And it's important to keep that in mind. Let's see if there's anything in this article worth going over. There's more about groceries and stuff that I want to get to. Canadians are more likely to blame grocery stores for raising food prices than any other reason, according to the survey conducted by Nanos Research. And it's just greed. Absolute and utter greed. Like, that's why the prices just keep on going up and going up. And then they put up gates in grocery stores. I think most of them around me now have gates to try to prevent people from stealing food and all this sort of stuff. But again, when you are making accessibility to food, something you need to survive, inaccessible through cost, then yeah, people are going to get desperate and they're going to steal it. And all I can say is I don't see it. I don't see, those extra things going on carts and stuff and not going through the checkout. I'm very selective when it comes to what I see in a grocery store. So Canadians have had to pay significantly more for food starting in the COVID-19 pandemic. And so that's when they originally started to really hike the prices, because they had an excuse. Oh, it's the supply chain. That's the problem. Only the prices went up more than the cost of the supply chain. And then when those prices came down, food prices did not. Yeah, and continuing into the present day, the Bank of Canada said last month grocery prices have increased nearly 22% between February 2021 and February 2024. Food that I used to get that used to be easy, quick meals, when it goes up in price, it's not going up by 25 cents, 50 cents. It's going up by $2 to $3. How are you supposed to keep up with that? Like, I remember way back when people used to care when Tim Hortons raised the price of their coffee by like a nickel or a dime. And they used to get so outraged by that. But now I go into the store and, take butter, for example. It's gone up $3 from the last time I went to go get butter. Other, quick frozen things that I get that I can just toss in the oven and burn to completion, they're going up by $2. And so when you have all of that happening to all the things you're getting, it's unattainable. You can't keep up with it. So then you have to start cutting out more and more and more. And it's like, I only eat 2 meals a day. Luckily, through anxiety and stomach issues, that's not that much of a problem for me. But other people don't. Other people are suffering every day because they can't even get in 3 square meals. Let's see. Surveys respondents also blame the food manufacturers themselves for increased food prices, as well as weather events, the Trudeau government, the carbon tax, or a combination of everything. It's the owners. That is all it is. Increase in food bank use. I've been over that plenty of times. Basically it's exploded. The food bank use in this country has just gone absolutely out of control because people are, no longer able to buy a lot of what they used to. What's this? Grocery Code of Conduct. The Grocery Industry Code of Conduct Steering Committee has pushed for Canada's first grocery store code of conduct, which would support fairness in the commercial dealings between suppliers, independent retailers, and large Canadian grocers to ensure consumers enjoy affordable and innovative product choices, according to the committee. In February, the House of Commons committee that studied food prices urged Loblaws and Walmart to sign on to the Grocery Code of Conduct or risk having it made law. Both organizations have said they will not sign the code as currently drafted, saying it could raise prices for Canadians. No, How about this, House of Commons government? Just do it. If it's going to help Canadians, don't negotiate with corporations. Because of course they're going to say it will raise prices for Canadians or it will do all this other horrible stuff because they don't want it to go through. And guess what, Canada government? That's your job. It's your job to crack down on this greed and get it under control. And that might mean that you piss off a few of your donors, but we're really literally talking about the quality of life for so many people. So, however, Empire Company Limited CEO Michael Medline, whose company owns Sobeys, Foodland, Farm Boy, and Freshco brands, told an audience at a Retail Council of Canada event last week there's no evidence a grocery code of conduct would raise food prices and that he supports the code. Well, there's a good person, a better CEO, not a good one, but a better one. For Sobeys and Farm Boy, I like those two grocery stores too. So if you have that option, maybe switch to those and stay away from Loblaws. So Medline said there's no code without all retailers getting on board, and that's why the government needs to step in and make it law, because you can't just expect corporations to sign on to something that will hurt their bottom line. You can't make this just an option. And what this person is saying is that it does put an unfair burden on the people who do sign on. Like if people do play by the rules and they get their bottom line hit while other retailers don't play by the rules and they get to have more profits, that's not how it should be working. It really isn't. And that's why you need the government to just make it an even playing field across the board. But then we go to this here. Here's some shrinkflation nonsense. So no names. This is a Loblaws brand, I believe. They shrunk the size of cheese, but not the packaging, so there's an excess of plastic. Huh. How damn cheap do you have to be? Because I've worked in retail, like supply chain retail, long enough to know that part of it is when you package something like this, you actually buy these bags separate. It's on a separate thing, and then like the company that puts it together and stuff like that. And so for some places, it might be cheaper to just use up the stock that they already have, even though they're not filling it out the way that they used to, because it is just this much cheaper. Because the print, it doesn't cost anything. Like it's just a print that goes on the top. So that's not an issue. But I'm curious if it's still 400 grams or if it's 400 grams filled out. But so too often we get that where there's just less for more. You know, we have to pay more for an item and there's less of it in the packaging. And they do all sorts of things to kind of hide the fact, like it's kind of embarrassing for them that they're not hiding it this way. All I can say is that it makes it a little bit easier to cut open. But this goes back to like ages ago. I remember a commercial where a guy who worked at like an olive company, they sold olives, 100 in a jar or something, pitched the idea to his boss. It's like, well, instead of 100, why don't we just have 99 olives in a jar? And then everyone applauded him and praised him for this great idea that saved the company money. And that was like a feel-good story back. Like it was a commercial, it wasn't real, but that type of thinking was looked very positively on. Like that's the way that you wanted to be if you were working for a company. But now it's getting more and more extreme. Like you get a bag of chips and you open it up and it's like this much at the bottom now. Like all this stuff where you see a package and you buy food based on the package you see, only to open up the package to realize that there's a lot of filler in there and not a lot of food. And so the thing is that people's diets and what they need to survive, well, I guess, you know, when people starve themselves, their stomach does shrink, which is no way for people to be living. Like this shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing. Like every time there has to be an announcement or something or say new, less food for you. Like they have to put it in bold print on their packaging that they've made it less, as opposed to just trying to sneak it in, because this one's obvious, but there's a lot of times where they just sneak it in and you don't know. And sometimes it's as simple as like if you look at the bottles, like if you get like a bottle of barbecue sauce at the bottom, sometimes it's very concave or something like that. It's simple things like that, as a way of them giving you less product for more. And people are fed up with Lala stores raising prices. Would boycott accomplish anything? And then this goes back to the food professor saying, no, it won't. And the thing is that boycotts, if planned and done right, they do work because they hit the bottom line of these companies. And that's why you have like the BDS movement, the boycott, divest, and sanction. Because boycotts do work, but they have to be done on a wide scale. They have to get a lot of people on board. And like I said, I've already mentioned some of the barriers to that. And those are like actual barriers and things that need to be considered versus people who work for the industry just saying, silly little plebs, that won't work. You need to keep on buying our stuff no matter how much we charge you. So it may very well have started with a tweet about a $37 package of chicken breasts, or it could have been the $10 birch sticks. The $9 butter didn't help, and $30 for feta cheese, allegedly twice the price a competitor was charging for the same product. Whatever may have been the social media tipping point, a lot of people are angry about high prices in grocery stores, Loblaw brands in particular, because that's the West Ends for you. Throw in shrinkflation, skimflation, and greedflation, and now a growing group of people online is calling for a boycott. I think a lot of people have very little faith in our political leaders to actually hold corporations accountable for the positions they are putting Canadians in, said Emily Johnson, a mental health and addiction worker in Milton, Ontario, who runs a quickly growing Reddit community called Loblaws is out of control. People feel voting with their dollars the best way of showing companies that they've had enough, Johnson told CBC News. Yeah, that's the best way to hurt them. Oh, do we get a little video? Let's do the little video. Let's see what the little video is.
Hey TikTok, are you ready to take down Galen Weston Jr. and Loblaws? Because I sure am. Welcome to Loblaws is Out of Control, the cute little meme sub on Reddit, which turned into 36,000 really angry Canadians in just under 3 months. Our community is going to be hosting a national boycott of Loblaws and their subsidiaries for the month of May with the intent of protesting the drastically increasing cost of groceries in Canada. A good friend of mine suggested starting this account, so once I kind of learn the ropes, I hope to be around a little more often, sharing more about our sub and what our community is doing together.
So they're trying to do a boycott for the month of May. So let's see, in a post last month, she and other moderators of the subreddit encouraged its 45,000 members to start boycotting Loblaws and Loblaws-owned stores such as Superstore and No Frills in May. The movement has gained traction on other social media platforms like Twitter and TikTok. Canadians are facing a cost of living crisis, and grocers are a main contributor to this. Vulnerable populations such as seniors, persons with disabilities, and those on fixed incomes are left further behind, the post reads. And that's also a higher percentage of what people have when they live in dire poverty goes towards groceries, because it does become, you start putting your money more into what is absolutely necessary to survive. So you're spending less on other extras or luxuries or entertainment or transportation, because more and more of your income has to go towards food, because you need that. That is the thing you need to live. The goal is for the company to reduce prices by 15% and remove member-only pricing, Johnson said, but some grocery and economics experts say a boycott of a brand as massive as Loblaws is unlikely to have much, if any, impact. Loblaws is sensitive to bad press, like any corporation, says Nicholas Lee, an assistant professor in the Department of Economics of Toronto Metropolitan University, but he's skeptical about the planned boycott, he added. Loblaw show earlier in its fight with Pepsi and Frito-Lay that it is willing to leave shelves empty in a fight over money with suppliers, so I find it highly unlikely that a boycott like this would make them change their minds, he said. Oh, so because, you know, they won't play ball with a boycott, we shouldn't bother trying. Huh. Because, you know, it will just make them mad. It won't make them change their minds. You know, even if they leave the shelves empty, but if they're being boycotted, then oh well. And yes, I believe this is the food professor again. The planned boycott points to how frustrated many customers are about food prices, which have gone up everywhere, not just at Loblaw's own stores, says Sylvian Charles. Yeah, this is the food professor guy. In a subsequent post, the Reddit group acknowledges the problem extends to the Big Five, Loblaw, Sobeys, Metro, Walmart, and Costco, and shares a list of alternative shopping options. Okay, then that's good. That's one thing that I was hoping they would do, is share a list of alternatives. Let's see.
I'm in Mississippi right now, and these are from Bradford, Ontario.
Can someone please explain the Galen Weston math on this one? Because I live 3 minutes outside of Bradford, Ontario. And when I go to the grocery store to buy those carrots, they cost $3. But somehow they can get put on a truck and driven to Mississippi, and they cost 86 cents.
Oh, there's Jagmeet Singh pointing at food, saying it's gone out of control. So NDP leader Jagmeet Singh points to a 20-pack of cheese during a visit to a Loblaw's grocery store in Ottawa, which he believes is a reflection of grocery chains' price gouging on February 21st, 2024. Oh, what's this? There's a graph. How big is everyone's slice of Canada grocery industry? Yeah, Loblaw's is the biggest slice there. Sobeys, other, Costco, Metro, Walmart. But on top of that, Loblaws also owns major names like Shoppers Drug Mart. Been covering a lot about them and how they were given a lot of privileges and stuff during COVID from Doug Ford. We'll get a lot more into Doug Ford later on. According to its website, it has more than 2,400 stores across Canada, and that's not slowing down. In February, a retailer announced it plans to build 40 more stores. Yeah, let's just make everything a monopoly. Yeah, see, there's the food professor right there. Some are calling for yet another boycott of Loblaws, as if this is a novel idea, another hold my beer moment. You'd have to be incredibly naive to believe it will make any difference. Yeah, then do it just to piss him off, is what I would say. Just do it to piss him off. And a lot of the stuff I cover, it's not like it's new news, but it's still just important to go over it and remind people that it's not getting better. Like, corporations won't change on their own. They need the people fighting back, and one of the ways of doing it is a boycott. So I'm not against the idea of doing a month-long boycott of Loblaws. You just have to make sure that the people who are the most vulnerable have access to everything they need during that time, and make sure you have people, you know, stand outside the grocery stores with examples of how much more the price is, and then tell people the nearest location that isn't owned by Loblaws. Like, it takes a lot of work. But if enough people get behind it, boycotts do work.